Um, Hi, my name is Aditya. I'm from BTech CSE, and today we're just gonna study some DSA. And I've got some various topics for you, and I'm gonna give you the idea on how to solve each of those topics and how to get into solving problems. So let's just begin. I've got a couple of problems from LeetCode, which are medium and easy. So let's just get started. The first question is merge intervals. All right, this is a medium question which has topics array and sorting. So let's get the first of all the basic idea of the question. So there is an array given named intervals, and we have some overlapping intervals in between. What we basically have to do is we have to merge the intervals that are overlapping each other and leave the intervals that are not participating in the overlap. And intervals is a 2D array with the zeroth index as start and first index as end I. So let's discuss what logic we will use here. So how would we go on solving a question like this? Like, let's just think about what is the first step that we want to achieve. First, we want to separate the unsorted ones and the sorted ones, all right? And we also need to create an array and we will finally push all of the answers, because we have to merge and combine the overlapping ones. So here we will create a vector that is secondary. But coming on to the logic, what we will do is here we will sort this. All right. First of all, I'm sorry I missed this, but you guys really need to read the constraints of each question. It is really important, and you keep in mind it. It might also, in some cases, give you a hint on how to, go on about solving the question. So here we see that if we sort the intervals, if we sort this array, then what would happen is it would sort it according to the zeroth index of each interval present here in the 2D array. So after we basically sort this, what will happen is we need to first of all, if we sort this, we create an array. All right, we create a vector named merged. Now what we are about to do is we need to first separate what is overlapping and what is not. For that we need to check if the last one of the previous interval that we gone through and the current interval zeroth index, if they are less than or greater than to each other. Right now, as you can see in the first example, 3 is greater than 2 while this one is sorted. So that means that these two are overlapping each other. So that is exactly what is happening here. First of all, we sorted from begin to end. This is a what do we say, a syntax of the C++, which helps us sort easily. Then we created 2D vector named merged, and inside the vector we need integers, so I've marked it as integer. And this might be a different for loop for you guys than you have seen, but it is also called as an auto loop. It was introduced in C++ 17, and all the versions of C++ after that can support this. Uh, yeah. So in this, what we are doing is we take an variable named interval. Interval is nothing. I can even take this as x right here and change everywhere, and it would work. I just used interval so that you guys can easily understand. So for auto interval in intervals being the vector that the question provided us with. So what it does, it automatically switches on from one to the next without us giving the increment needed. For example, that if we wanted to increment this by 2, we would have to use the original for loop and give the increment as 2, but here it automatically just skips on from one thing to the next. Okay, so here we managed to traverse this. Then first thing that we need to check is if the merged array, the merged vector that we have created is empty or not. All right. So a little few things I wanted to discuss about the difference between an array and vector. What a vector is, it is nothing but an array with dynamic memory allocation. So what happens is that in an array, if I define, like for example, that I am declaring an array and I give it a value 20, all right, then it will have all these 20 spaces, filled in. Even if I use only 13 of them, all the 20 spaces are used above the array. But what happens in vector is, like, I can dynamically keep storing, and when we add, for example, like I am adding in a vector, you know this is it, and I'm adding 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7, all right. And what it does, it when we get across a specific index, it increases the size by 2. It increases the size by 2, and when that is fixed, it again increases the size by 2, and so on. It tries to save us memory, which gives us basically faster processing. So yeah, this is the difference between a vector and an array. Let's keep moving on. So yeah, what we did is, first we checked if the merged vector is empty. After we checked that the merged vector is empty, what we are doing it is, we are seeing if we pushed back something in the merged. If we did, then the last item, the first index of the thing that we pushed in the merged array, if it is greater than the if it is lesser than the first interval of the current interval, the first index of the current interval. As you can see, if we dry run this code right according to this example right here, if we push 1 comma 3, because nothing is there in the array, we push 1 comma 3, we can see that 3 and 2, I mean 3 is not less than 2, which is clearly overlapping. So what it does, it this line of code basically pushes back if this statement is verified, basically if no overlap is happening. And the else code obviously then does activated when there is overlap happening. So merge dot back, this is just a C++ statement for handling the last statement that we just pushed into the vector. So merge dot back first index equal to max of merge back comma interval of 1. Basically, here it is saying that the last thing that we pushed in the current interval that we are on, basically it will convert into, like, the first index will be remain the same of the first one, but the second index will be taken as the maximum of the first index of the first interval and the second interval, second being the current one we are on. So it chooses the max between 3 and 6, and it sorts it. So it would give us exactly this 1 comma 6, 8 comma 10, and 15 comma 8, 15 comma 18. So I hope you understood this question. This was just a nice, easy question, to get you started. There is also a graph method to solve this question, but it will take n square time complexity, while sorting is taking us, n log n. The graph one is a little more complicated, so I wouldn't want to get into it, at the start of the video. But yeah, let's just move. Hi guys, let's move on to the next question. So the next question is also a medium question from LeetCode, number 395, and the question is longest substring with at least k repeating characters. Let me just show you the topics for it once. The topics are hash table, string, divide and conquer, and sliding window. So, in this question, what we basically have to do is, there is a character, there is a string of characters given, repeatingly characters, and we have to give the longest substring that has at least k number of repeating characters continuously, that is given to us by the question. The k number is input in the question, and we have to take a parameter for it that is already taken in the solution before even we write starting it. Like when we open the window of the question, this parameter is already provided to us for our use and our help. So moving on, here we have to see that there is also a condition that no if no such substring exists, just return 0, all right. And Yeah, let's look into the examples one so that we get a clear idea. So, for example, here A, we have to tell the longest one. So, there is also, but the K is 3, all right. So, B here cannot qualify if there was another B here and S was like this. So, the answer here would not be 3 but be 6, all right. So let's take an example like the below one that is shown here. Here k is 2. So we see that a is coming 2 times and b is coming 3 times. So these 5 collab and we get the answer as 5. Alright, so this is the question. Let's go on how to solve it. Let's look into the logic a bit. So what we have to do is first of all we have to check if it is empty or not. See, this is one of the basic things that you'll ever learn, that if there is a question given, which considers like specific inputs given, a lot of time there might be a test case because there are almost 400 500 test cases for each question in LeetCode. So what will happen in most of the times, there will always be a test case which has no input, and if we don't take that into consideration our solution will fail even if it is correct. Okay, so you always have, this is a good practice that you will understand in what question you should basically use this with time as you solve more questions, but this is a good practice for you to know. So we just check if the if the string is empty, just return 0. Okay, that is very easy to understand. Now moving on, what we have done to keep track and traverse is a map. So, what is a map? I will like to explain it a bit. Map is nothing but if you know Python, in Python it is just a dictionary. What C++ has a map. Basically, it is just a pair of key and value that keeps track. Okay, that we can use for keeping track or anything. It is just a data structure, and iterating in a map is actually pretty great because iterating it is, I guess, O of 1 if I'm not wrong. It is constant iteration for if we use to traverse in a map. So a lot of times to get better memory access, get I mean better memory time and memory processing, and get faster runtime on LeetCode or on any site. Competitive programmers always like to use map, because that gives them an edge. Although creating a new memory, creating a new data structure will take a lot of our memory. That is true, but it will of course give us faster processing because of its low traversal time. Anyways, so yeah, what is a map? Map is nothing but a data structure which has two components in it, that is key and value. And we have to, in this case, we have to define it as character and int. We can define it as literally anything of all the data types that are int, char, double float, whatever it is, we can put into the parameters. Now there are three types of map: unordered and ordered. You basically understand just by their name. Unordered map doesn't sort them in any order. Ordered map sorts them in order, of course. And multi map, there is also a third kind of map. It is a bit complex, but sometimes it gives over the edge of what we say ordered map, so it is used. We will get into that sometime later. Let's just solve the question now. So this again is an auto loop that I told you guys, that we can basically just see what it is doing. Is C is nothing but a variable that I have taken character because this is a string of characters. Then I have taken a character C here, and it is iterating in the string S, and it will increment one by one because we have not given any external increment here. And basically what it is doing is, in the map it is doing something like this. See, for example, this is the map, right? So if it was traversing this string, how would it go on? Okay, it would go on like first it sees A, all right, then it creates a, then it creates a key A, and what value is it giving to it? It is like it is keep adding value. For the first time, it gives it as 1. Then it goes again. It sees that it is not something else, so it stays on 1 and it adds 1. So basically, it gives 2. Then it goes again. Then it gives it 3. When it moves on to B, it sees that this is a new element that is not the same as the previous one. So what it does, it goes B and it creates 1. Then also again when it sees B, it creates it as 2. And we can access the first and second elements of a map by, for example, I have taken here C, right, as the variable that I'm using on traversing them. We can same way use a map, we can use a for loop to traverse inside the map, and we can use it as like C dot first and C dot second. See, lead code is um, uh, identifying them as functions. That's why it is coming in as blue, in blue text. Anyways, so yeah, we can traverse through a map like this, and we can use I dot first, I mean C dot first or C dot second, whatever variable you are using. Dot first, dot second helps us to manipulate or access the first index or the 0th index or the first index of the map, because it has only two things, key and value. Now for the main for loop of the question, what we are doing is, basically in this question I am particularly using recursion. I wanted to show you guys what recursion is. There is also another method to solve this question, you know uh, but in this case recursion gives you faster processing time. Recursion always gives you faster processing time. But let me just introduce what is recursion to you guys. Recursion is nothing but the function calling itself inside the own function. Basically, as you can see, the question gives us longest substring, this already created, this function already created before we solve this. So what we are doing now is, we are inside the question, inside the solution of the question, we call the same function again. So what it will do is, it will, whatever parameters, for example, I'm not getting into the solution now, but just for explanation, imagine the name of the function was something different. It was hello world or something like that, all right. And if we again use the, and if we call this function again in the code, and we give parameters like s plus 25 comma k minus 32, all right, then it will take these parameters and run the function again on these parameters that are given. It will basically replace this parameter by the original parameter that is given here, and run the question again, run the solution again. It just does this. So that is recursion. So basically what this map has done till now is store all the frequency of the elements that we have traversed through in the string till yet. Alright. Now in the main for loop, what we are doing is, we have started from I equal to 0. We are keeping it as till, we are incrementing it one by one till s dot size. This is again a syntax of the C++ in which we can use to find the size of the string. So s dot size. Now coming on to inside the conditions. So what we have done in this type of question is that, first of all, we are seeing, we are actually we are solving it by in parts. So what we have till now done is, always this is a good thing to solve your code in parts, even if it leads to errors now. Then but still you will have in your mind that I've solved this part of the question, and you can think on on solving the next part. If you try to solve them together now, it is very confusing sometimes and can lead to more complex solutions with higher runtime, and maybe even so, as I was saying, that it might even lead to time limit exceeding on lead code or on any coding site that you are solving your questions on. So for the last and final part of the question, what we are going to do is, we started a for loop. We are initializing a variable as 0 and increasing it till s dot size, which is again a syntax provided to us from C++. All right, and incrementing it by one using I plus plus. Now, what we are checking is, first of all, if, because we only need the subsequence which is repeating for at least k number of times. So first we are checking if it is less than k. Basically, in if we take the first example, in the case when it first reaches b on the third index, all right, let me just copy this. when it reaches exactly here on this B, as you can see right here, what it would do is it would create a split here, exactly something like this. This split would be created here. You can see the split. I am splitting it into two parts, one left part and two right part. Okay, we are taking two integers and then using recursion. I explained what is recursion to you guys. What I am doing is I am sending this again into the function, the left part and right part, and from that the longest subsequence that I find among the two, the left part and the right part, I am then returning the max of it. Return the max of left part and right part. All right, because as you can see in this case, here the answer would be 3 and here the answer would be 1 below this. So as you can see, the greater answer is 3. 3 is returned. So this question is solved using recursion. I just wanted to give you a overview, of how we can use recursion to solve questions easily. So I guess that's it for this question. Let's move on to the next question. The next question is a particularly very interesting question that I really enjoyed doing. Um, this question uses basically math. There is no other topic, just math. And it is 1185 day of the week of LeetCode. It is an easy question, but it does use your mind. So what we have to do in this question is it would give us a day, month and year, and we basically have to tell which day of the week is it. All right, which day of the week was it on that corresponding date. Okay, that is what we have to do here. Can you give me just a minute? So yeah, let's continue to our video. Sorry for that. Here, what we have to do is that the day, month, and year would be given, and we have to tell what day of the week is it. All right. So for that, what do we do is first of all we store all the months in an array with all of the days. With all of the number of days that that specific month has. So as you can see, January, February, and so on. January, February, March, April, and so on. We have saved, and I have created one extra space, and I have not made this array of 12 but of 13. I will tell you later on why. All right. Then we have of course taken a string of words and stored it as day name because we need to access from somewhere what day of the week is it. Now, for solving this question, we need to take a consideration. We have to assume something from where we are solving this question. You have to take a start date from where you are calculating and assuming. Now, how would you know this? You would know this by reading the constraint, which I have told you already. The constraint is that the dates are valid between the years 1971 and 2100. All right. So we have to take a date just before the starting date. That is 1971's one day before. That is 31st, 31st December of 1970. We have to take that date as reference and take what day of the week was it. All right. I can just search it in front of you. I know it was Thursday, but 31st December 1970 day. As you can see, Thursday. So on that day, the number of Thursdays four. All right, if we initialize it, Monday is one, Tuesday is through, Wednesday is three, and Thursday is four. So we just take a variable sum and we put the value as 4 because it was Thursday from the day that we are trying to calculate further on. All right. So now we have to calculate the number of days from 1971 to the current date that we are given so that we can calculate the number of days and then finally divide and find out what day we are at. So for that we use I as 1971, we initialize I less than year. We are basically finding how many years has it been. So if this statement, of course, this statement is for a leap year. We are checking if it was a leap year. So if it is divisible by 4 and 100 or 400, then it is a leap year. All right, basic maths. So that will add 366 days. But if it is not leap year, it would add 365 days. All right. So what it would do till now, like if we take, for example, let me explain it to you part by part. Sorry. So if we take this, so 31 8 2019, what it would do is it would go on like this: 1971, 1971. Already it takes first 1971 and we put something like leap year. So 365, 366 days added. 1972, a non-leap. So 365 days added. 1973, non-leap. So 365 days added. It is doing something like this. I'm not even sure what the year was, leap or non-leap, but it would continue doing that till the current year, that is 2019, or till the current date that is given, that is 2019 and some month. All right. So this is what it is doing. So moving on to the next part, we have checked if it was leap, then add 366, and if it was not leap, then add 365. All right. Now, coming on to the step 5, I have just written the comments here, so that you guys can easily understand. And if you could not, by my words, you could read and understand easily when you see the code. All right. So, step 5 is just to calculate the number of days in the months of the current year. So, basically, we check the year. Now, let's come on to the month. All right. So, coming on to the month, int I equal to 1 and I less than month in this month that we gave, the months array that we just made here of 13, and that is why we are starting from 1, and I less than month, I plus plus. All right, just iterating from it one by one. Now we checked that uh, once we need to first of all check that if I equal to 2, basically the second, we are checking for February. If it is a leap year or February, we need to adjust for the days. All right, so if I equal to 2 and it is a leap year that I just showed you, so sum plus equal to 1. All right, and just basically add, um I don't think you guys understood this. What we basically have to do is, because February has 28 days in a normal year and 29 days in a leap year, if I'm not wrong. All right. So what happens is, in this, if because I have already stored in the array 28, now, there would obviously be a test case where February is passing through a leap year, and in that case, we need to put 29. So, how can we do that? So this is just a condition to give that 29 if, in the case, February comes under leap year, which of course it would. All right, so it is doing nothing but that, and generally, as we are going along the months, also add the days, all right, that we have given in this array, and then add the days of the week. So we solved the year, we solved the month, now we come on to the day. See, we have solving all our questions in parts only. So now coming on to the day, the current day would just add, and then the total sum that we have, we just modulus it by 7. Modulus is taking the remainder. uh, so for example, if it was something like 3165, so the final sum. So we divide 3165 days by 7. What would it give? Well, I need a calculator for that, but imagine it gives something like 6. All right. So then we would just go into this and tell the sixth name of the array. That would be Saturday. So it would give the answer as Saturday. All right. So this is just the question. It is a really good question. It is a really good question, and it uses math, and it just gives perspective on how to solve some of the math questions regarding the formulas or something. You sometimes need to just take an instance. So yeah, as I was saying, we sometimes just need an instance to take as the footprint of solving the problem, from which we can what do I just want to say that basically as a standpoint from which we can take reference and move on in the question. Okay, for here example I took, after seeing the constraint, I took 30th of December 1970, 31st December 1970. So all right, yeah, this is all in the question. Let's just move on to the next question. No, this is an easy question too. The question is 2869 of LeetCode, minimum operations to collect elements. All right, so let's just get straight into it. Uh, just remove this. What this question does is basically it gives us an array nums. All right, this also has an input k, What do we have to do with that case? That we have a positive integer k given and an array of positive integers. What we have to do is we can do some operations and convert it into a sequence like this, like 1 comma 2 and then continuation till k. And the only operation that we can perform is removing the last element of the array. Now we need to give out or return basically the minimum number of operations or minimum times that we can remove the last element from the array and add it to our collection, so that a series like this is formed. So you have to write a code for that. All right, let's just take an example, 31542. Let's just take this first example just so you guys can understand it better. So this is the case. First of all, we take 2 from the first case. In the second case, we get 1. Okay, so only by these two times. Oh no, the second time I don't get 1. Second time I get 4. Then I get 5. Then I get 1. So at the fourth time, if we put this in iteration 1, 2, 3, 4. So by the fourth time, I got 1 and 2 both, which can put this into a sequence as 1 comma 2 till k. All right, because k here given is 2. So we got this in 4 times, so we have to return it as 4, which the answer does, which the example does. Now let's get into the logic of how we are going to solve this question. Before, let me just show you the topics. Array, hash table, and bit manipulation. All right. We didn't use hash table in it. I'll explain why. But hash table is nothing but hash map. All right. The map that I told you, mostly it is the same thing. All right. And yeah, let's just get into it. The constraints you can read. The nums length that is given is between 50, the array, and I would be between 1 and 50, the numbers. Nums of I would be between 1 and 50, and k is between 1 and 50 also. All right. So here, what do we have to do here? All right. First of all, you know that we need to push elements into your collection. So we need to create a collection first. We create a vector and with the name ARR from size k plus 1. Now this syntax is also syntax of initializing an array, a vector in C++. What this does is it creates a vector like this. So basically, if this was vec, all right, it creates it like this. So basically, it creates a vector for k plus 1 size and also initializes all of them as 0. If I put 1 here, it will initialize all of them as 0. So I'm initializing all of them as 1. All right. So it is something like, if k was 2 in this case, it will come like this. If we take the second example with k equal to 5, it will be something like this. All right. So yeah, and then we have taken an answer integer that we will return as 0. We take nums dot size and put it into an integer variable n, and then we take another integer variable num as 0. All right. So here I didn't take an hash map because I'm basically using an array to keep count of the numbers. All right, let me tell you how this works. So we have taken I as n minus 1, basically the last index, and then we are decrementing it one by one till it reaches 0. Okay, till it is at the zeroth index. So yeah, and it will pass only basically if nums of I is less than equal to k. Basically we will only need the numbers that are less than k, all right, to add to our collection. And array nums of I equal to 0, basically if we hadn't changed the number, because it will only be 0 once we have just initialized it. If we have worked on it, then it won't remain 0, all right. That is a basic common sense. So only if we haven't already worked on it and the nums of I is less than equal to k, then put the number as 1. All right, put the number basically if it was like this. All right, 5 k plus 1, another same as again. For this case, if we take n k is 5, it will become 6. So we come on to 3. 3 is not there. All right, 3 is less than k, so this becomes 1. Okay, and then we come to the next one. It comes to 1. All right, it is less than 5. Then it again puts it as 1. Then it comes to 5. 5 is less than equal to k. Yes, we put again 1. All right, then we come on to 4. 4 is again less than 1, less than 5. So again we put 1. And then at the last we come on to 2, and that is again less than 5, so we put 1 again. All right, and each one that we increase, we keep in any case the num is equal to k. Basically, um so basically, if num is equal to k, we break. Now, num is after each time that we increase something or we put them as one, we are increasing num. All right. So at this point, the num value would be 5 because we have increased these numbers 5 times. All right. So when it becomes 5 and that is equal to k, just break the loop and come out and return the answer. That is 5. All right. So this is the question. It is a easy question. It just helps us to know how to traverse or keep track of elements. Now, there are majorly 3 4 types to keep track of elements. In this case, we can also use a hash map in this for sure, but I wanted you guys to also see how we can uh, use this using an array only. All right, if you guys wanted to know, everyone needs to know multiple types. So this was an array type. There is hash map. There is also a type of set in which we can mark it as, which we have already visited in a set in C++. We can mark it as that we have already been to this element. So yeah, this is just one of the extra ways I wanted to teach you so that you guys can use this in your codes. All right. So yeah, guys, let's just move on to the last question. And the last question is a really, really interesting question. Let me tell you guys. All right. So to be honest, this question is really hard to understand at the first go. So I'm gonna really try to keep it simple for you guys. For the first time, it took me 12 minutes to understand this question, and that too with the help of my friend. To be honest, it is urged to release the DSA video 2 days before me in this, in this campaign that we have been doing in the Google Clubs. He helped me understand this question, to be honest. But yeah, I'm gonna make it even easier for you guys to understand. So, what is the question? 2996 lead code, and the topics are array, hash table, and sorting. Let's get straight on to it. The question is smallest missing integer greater than the sequential prefix sum. Now, you guys will ask, what is prefix sum? Prefix sum comes a lot in company exams, all right? Prefix sum is nothing but a sequence. If going in ascending order, all of them is one greater than the previous one. This is just what prefix sum is. There is nothing else. All right. Very easy to understand. All right. Let's move next to what the question has given us. It has given us a zero indexed array of integers nums. This is just to confuse you guys. It is nothing. बस array को zero index पे रखा हुआ है और दिया हुआ है जो already रखा होता है. कुछ इसमें confuse होने की बात है ही नहीं. ठीक है, बस ऐसे फैंसी इंग्लिश लिखने की दीज पीपल ट्राई टू कंफ्यूज यू, बट देयर इज नथिंग टू गेट कंफ्यूज्ड ऑन. All of us are way smarter than that. All right, moving on. What we have to do is we have to bring it in a sequence. All right, it wants us to find a sequence, all right, of the prefix sum. It is already there is a sequence given prefix sum, and it is mentioned that it will probably start from the zero element or from whatever. All right, the prefix sum is starting, and as that prefix sum is starting on the element that it gets disrupted on, we need to. Okay, let me just show you with an example, and maybe you guys would better understand it there. See, this is the sequence of the first example that we have gotten. Now let's see where we are finding a sequence 1, 2, and 3. It breaks right here onto at the third index. Alright, guys. So at the third index, it breaks. Still here, let's add these up. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. Alright, we got 6. Now we have to find an element greater than or equal to 6 that is not present in the vector or the array given. Alright. So 6 itself is not present. So we return the answer as 6. One more example to help you guys. Let's move on to another example. Here, let's find the sequence. 3, 4, 5. All right. Here, what breaks the sequence? 1 breaks the sequence at the third index again. All right. So here we move on. We add 5 plus 4 plus 3, that is 12. Now, finding 12 itself is here. All right. So let's just increment 1, 13, also present. Let's increment one more, 14, also present. Let's increment one more, 15, not present. This is the answer. Okay, I hope you guys understood the question. Now let's get on to the logic and see how we solve this. So we take nothing but n variable n to give it the size of the nums array using the syntax that I have told you a lot of time. Now, basic rule that I told you, it is good to use this if n equal to 0, then this is basically a base case, just return one being true in coding language. All right. Then we go on, we take a variable sum. Now, what is long long? Long long is literally nothing, but it is described when we can expect a value that is going to be very large. All right. So basically, in some cases, if we don't give long long, तो basically ना program ही फट जाता है पूरा. So if I maybe in some cases if I had only written int here, int sum, it will probably also run with int sum. You know what? Let's try with int sum. Let me run it in front of you guys. Does it run? See, accepted. It does run. It is nothing. It long is just if there is a case of a test case where it is demanding very high values and the sum is gone very large. So long just extends the memory that is given to it so that program फटता ही नहीं है. ठीक है, बस ये करता है. और सिर्फ long भी चलता है. There is also a thing called long sum. I'll just run it for you guys again. It will work. सी इट रन. अगर थोड़ा बड़ा है तो लॉन्ग कर दो. अगर बहुत बड़ा सम जा सकता है यू थिंक, तो लॉन्ग लॉन्ग कर दो. ऑलराइट. So then we take a int variable as longest sequence end. All right. And then we just have a loop. Now what the loop is doing, we initialize the loop as 1 and not 0. Now that is interesting. Why do we do that? Because we need to check the prefix sum. If we initialized it as 0, like if we take this example and we initialize it as 0, what would I check that 1 is greater of? What is the thing that 1 is greater on and it is a prefix sum? How do I know? All right. uh, so we take it as we start the loop from 1 till n, we increment it. I plus plus is the same thing as plus plus n, no need to worry about it. And we check if the current nums of I is 1 greater than the previous element, then add nums of I to the sum. Plus equal to is the same as sum equal to sum plus nums I. I have also written in the comment here just for you guys to understand. And at the element that it breaks, we will get to know what is I, longest sequence end. So when it breaks, now we need to check the what element is greater than or equal to the sum and not present. We are going to do that using a set. So we have made an unordered set called num set and given it the values of nums. And how have we done that? By giving the syntax of nums dot begin to nums dot end. So basically, what it does, it gives all the values of num from the start to the end. If I had given here something like nums of last minus 3, it would have given it of that, that part. We can set any part or any values here as we want. That is our choice. Also, we create a variable candidate just to, uh, you know, calculate. So basically int candidate equal to sum. Sum is the current sum that we have gotten from adding all the prefix sum sequence that we got. And while num set, basically the set that we have, dot find candidate is not equal to num set dot end. Basically it does is it is finding till it doesn't find anymore the candidate option and the candidate value, and we are incrementing it by 1. So basically, if it found 12, it would find 13, it would find 14, but it will not find 14, 15 in this case. And thus it would return 15 as the answer. All right. So this was this question. And we solved three easy and two medium questions today. And I'm really happy. I'm really glad that we got to do this. This was an amazing experience. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. So this was just a small set of questions that I have taken, and we can we can easily understand these. All right. I hope I made everything clear. And this was just a great experience overall. Thanks to all the GDGOC team. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.